Shall I give you despair? Let me hear you wail.
I do it for the girls and the kids, that's it. The queens and the queers, yeah, they loving my shit. Yeah, shut the fuck out to the girls with the big ass lips, and shut the fuck out to the girls with the big ass dicks.
Hi YouTube, welcome back to another MTG deck list profile. Today we're asking a very important question. Did Sephiroth do this? So, like most Sephiroth decks, we're going to be aiming to hurt our opponent with ping damage and hopefully transform into Sephiroth One-Winged Angel. In order to set that up, we're going to be using a lot of low-drop creatures that create tokens on death, like Nezumi Linkbreaker and Infestation Sage. This will help protect us in the early game and make sure we can be as aggro as possible. To get into the mid and late game, we're going to be using draw cards like Caretaker's Talent and Enduring Innocence to both fill up our hand and ensure that our tokens get stronger and stronger as time goes on. We also have a single copy of Ghostly Dancers in the deck because we will be also milling using Overlord of the Balemerc to get to our creatures and supplies faster. Now, filling up the graveyard works best when we use my favorite pet card, Smile at Death, to revive all of our creatures with 2 or less health. This is going to give us a lot of flexibility to sacrifice creatures as needed, using the Rottenmouth Viper, our snake of the day. So Rottenmouth Viper is a card that can cost less to cast for each permanent card you can sacrifice while casting it. Meaning we're going to be able to take our Overlord of the Balemercs, our Enduring Innocences, our Nezumi Linkbreakers, our Infestation Sages, and sacrifice many of them. What makes Rottenmouth Viper so scary is that whenever this creature enters or attacks, you put a blight counter on it. Then for each blight counter on it, each opponent loses 4 life, unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent of their choice or discards a card. Sacrificing is one of the best ways to remove creatures in the game because when your opponent does it, they aren't privy to as much protection as they would maybe like to be. But just to add in a little extra menace, I figure since Sephiroth becomes the One-Winged Angel, we'd back him up with a little angel support. So I'm also running Valkyrie's Call. Valkyrie's Call is an enchantment that says whenever a non-token, non-angel creature you control dies, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control with a 1/1 counter on it. It has flying and is an angel in addition to its other types. This is going to let us loop our Rottenmouth Viper, causing it to enter again and again and again as we sacrifice it with Sephiroth, generating a ton of advantage and formulating the question, did Sephiroth do this? Now, without further ado, let's get into the games. Alright, looks like we've got an excellent start in 2 of our low drop creatures, our Smile of Death and Sephiroth, and an Overlord of the Balemerc. It doesn't get much better than this when setting up for the early game, so let's keep our 7 and give it a try. The opponent looks to be playing a deck filled with Death Touch creatures, which is kind of exciting. I'm curious, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem for us given our creatures are meant to be destroyed anyways. So we'll hit our land for turn, and I'm going to summon the Infestation Sage. Let's see what they've got in store for us. Alright, there's that second land drop for turn. The suspense is killing me. I gotta know what creature they got. No creature. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and take care of their Engine Rat by blocking with the Infestation Sage. This is gonna remove the Death Touch threat off of the field and allow us to set up a little more quickly. Next up, we're gonna be playing the Impending Cost for Overlord of the Balemerc. Just gonna mill a bunch of cards and then put 1 back into our hand. We're going to grab the Rottenmouth Viper, so it's all set for us, and I'm going to attack with my little insect token here, and pass it back to the opponent. The opponent hits their 3rd land drop, and plays a Vengeful Blood Witch. So much like Sephiroth, this card is going to cause little ping damage and healing every time something dies on the field. So what we're going to do is we're going to say it doesn't matter. We're just going to continue. Unfortunately, we miss our land drop, but I don't think it will matter. Once the deck gets going, the deck gets going. So we're going to see exactly what we can get away with here. Right, we pass it back to the opponent. They're going to play Tribute to Hunger. This is going to force us to sacrifice a creature, and then they gain life equal to its toughness. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of our Link Breaker. That way it can replace ourselves with a Mercenary token. Now, the cool thing about this Mercenary token is you can actually go ahead and tap it in order to get other things on the field stronger. So for example, we can go ahead and tap, and now our Insect token is just a little bit stronger. But I think it's time to throw the Fear of God into the opponent, so I'm going to go ahead and play the Rotten Mouth Viper. We're going to sacrifice both our tokens and our Overlord of the Balemark as an enchantment. And I'm going to bring out the Viper. This is going to force the opponent to either take some damage or sacrifice their own creatures. So now that the opponent has a giant turn 3 threat, they're going to use their removal and bake the snake into a pie. I feel like the snake just isn't getting a break today, and it's understandable. It's a big-ass snake. We're going to summon Sephiroth, Fabled Soldier, to the field to get things started. Now the opponent is going to have to come up with some kind of a creature to stop us, or they might be struggling to get out of this one. Looks like they're going to attack us with our Blood Witch. I'm going to go ahead and block with Sephiroth. They may have something else in store, but we'll see. We will see. It looks like the opponent is playing Vincent's Limit Break in order to take care of Sephiroth. This is going to be a decent amount of the rest of their mana. It looks like they're able to bring back the Vengeful Blood Witch, completing the combo. I'm going to go ahead and play our Concealed Courtyard for turn and just summon another Sephiroth. Hopefully next turn we will get our Smile of Death and be able to loop all of our starting creatures. But for now, I am content waiting. So it looks like they're going to play the card The Final Days. This is a sorcery that's going to make 2 tapped 2/2 Black Horror creature tokens, and if it was cast from the graveyard, you can make more tokens based on how many creature cards were in the graveyard as well. Alright, so we're going to play our land for turn, and I'm going to pop down Smile at Death. Then I'm going to take Sephiroth and attack. Looks like the opponent is willing to sacrifice their Blood Witch, but unfortunately the sacrifice is going to cancel itself out. The opponent plays Dune Mover. This is going to let them search for basic land. And then they are going to play some removal onto my Sephiroth. So now that it's our turn, we're going to do Smiles of Death, we're going to bring back the Ghostly Dancers, and we're going to bring back the Infestation Sage. So as we do this, we're going to also be able to return an enchantment to our hand as well. And I think I'm going to go ahead and grab the Overlord of the Balemark, just to get the deck moving a little more. So now that we have this set up, what I'm going to do is go ahead and play the Overlord of the Balemark this turn. That's going to let us mill some more cards, but because it's an enchantment, it enters and then we get to trigger the Ghostly Dancers, making us a spirit token. Then what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and summon Sephiroth back to the field. On entry, Sephiroth sacrifices a creature, and we get to pull a card out of our deck to use. This is going to also make us a token. We'll play our land for turn, and I'm going to enter with the Rotten Mouth Viper. Now this time I'm going to destroy my Ghostly Dancers, my token, my other token, and my Overlord of the Balemark. I lied. I'm going to go ahead get rid of the Ghostly Dancer, our token Sephiroth, and Overlord of the Balemark. And we'll let that auto-pay take care of itself. Bringing out the Sephiroth pings to 1, 2, 3, and dropping a Rotten Mouth Viper the opponent has to deal with very quickly. no matter how much removal they've thrown at us, we've been able to recur our entire deck pretty quickly, and being able to do that is a really, really awesome way to put pressure faster than the opponent can often ramp. It looks like the opponent is playing another Final Days. I really do like this deck they're playing. I think it's kind of interesting. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the Dune Mover because I don't trust Toxic to not be pretty scary. Now, during the start of our turn, Smile of Death is going to let us recur Ghostly Dancers and the Infestation Sage, just like last turn. But this time, we're going to go ahead and grab the Valkyrie's Call. And as you can see, this sets up a pretty perpetual loop where we are kind of good to go. So once Valkyrie's Call is on the field, we're going to get a Spirit Token. Then I can come in with the Rotten Mouth Viper, and I can kill our Rotten Mouth Viper that's already on the field, the Infestation Sage, Ghostly Dancers, and the token, and have just enough mana in order to put it back on the field. However, this is going to trigger our Valkyrie's Call, returning these creatures to the field and re-triggering the effect of Rotten Mouth Viper, forcing the opponent to once again discard and sacrifice their cards. By looping this effect, we've effectively put them well beyond their ability to come back at this point. Looks like they're playing the Billowing Shriek Mass. This is a mill card that gets a boost if there are enough cards in the graveyard. They're going to heal up a little bit their food, but then pass it back to us. Now we can bring back our Link Breakers, and we should be pretty golden here. I'm going to go ahead, pop down Enduring Innocence. This is going to trigger Ghostly Dancers, as it's also an enchantment creature. Then I'm going to take our Caretaker's Talent, pop it on the field as well. This is going to, once again, as an enchantment, trigger our tokens. That's going to let us draw a card. We can play our land for turn. And I'm going to use my last 2 mana to trigger Overlord of the Baelmerk again. 1 more token, 5 more cards to the graveyard. And I'm going to grab a Rotten Mouth Viper for next turn if we need it. But now that our Rotten Mouth Viper has flying, and this one is on the field as well, it's very easy for us to take our entire creatures, hop right in, and start attacking. The opponent chooses to take the damage, but they don't realize that they're going to be out of luck pretty quick here. Being forced to sacrifice both of their tokens, only to be able to then block with the Billowing Shriek Mass one of my several flying creatures. They run out of life, and that's the game. Alright, looks like we've drawn another perfect hand here to work with. We can get started with a lot of nice creatures. We're up against the Coffee Demon, which is a fantastic username. I love creative usernames in MTG and other TCGs. So we'll start with a land dropped Concealed Courtyard and a Nezumi Link Breaker. It looks like the opponent is going to do similar, but they're popping down the Greedy Freebooter for treasure. Next up, we're going to play Infestation Sage, just get another body on the field. I'm going to wait because I don't want to risk them blocking with the Freebooter and getting a treasure. But it looks like their turn is dropping a second one. Now, we might have to accept it, but I think actually it's just a ping of damage. We'll get that back with Sephiroth. So this turn, we miss our land drop, unfortunately. I'm going to go ahead and play another Nezumi Link Breaker and wait for them. We're playing a little bit slower here just because I don't want them to run into too much treasure opportunity. It looks like they might be trying to build for something bigger, so I'm going to play the Bleachborn Verge, and I'm going to go ahead and say that it is time for an Enduring Innocence. Getting our draw support onto the field early means we're going to have a lot of really fun stuff to work with soon. Once the draw combo in this deck gets going, it's a lot harder to stop it. They'll waste their removal on the Enduring Innocence just because it's going to go back to our field anyways, and they've left themselves wide open for a triple attack from our low drop creatures. I love their little mole so much. He investigates. So it looks like they're going to spend another Withering Torment to get rid of our draw support, which is a very smart move. Unfortunately for them, we're still prepared with the cards in our hand, so I'm going to go ahead and bring out our Sephiroth here. This is going to sacrifice a creature in order to draw a card. We have a backup Sephiroth, which is amazing. We'll get a token, and then we're going to come in with all of these creatures ready to defend or block or whatever we might need. It looks like they're playing the Tithing Blade. When this artifact enters, each opponent sacrifices a creature of their choice. So I'll go ahead and get rid of my Link Breaker since it's going to replace itself with a token and trigger Sephiroth. This is an amazing way to keep things moving. Alright, we're slowly building up. Here's our 4th land for turn. I'm going to play our Infestation Sage and run into an attack with Sephiroth and our flyer token here. What's going to happen next is I'm going to sacrifice Nezumi Link Breaker. This is going to allow us to ping and create another token. Now Sephiroth is getting ready to attack. They've chosen their blocker, and we do a little chunk of damage. Sephiroth will ping again because we've destroyed the greedy freebooter. And then they get their treasure token, but we get a lot more advantage. Given the opponent only has 8 life left, they're going to have to come up with something soon to defeat us. That said, with 6 mana on the field and a treasure, it looks like we might be in for something scary as soon as they draw it. Okay, so they've destroyed Sephiroth with another piece of removal, but that's okay. We're going to play the Bleachborn Verge, and I'm going to go ahead and grab us Smiles of Death. Now, this is going to allow us to be more prepared moving forward. I'm going to use both of my mercenary tokens to boost my insect token, and we'll attack with that Infestation Sage. And knowing the opponent is overrun, they end up leaving, and that is the game. Alright, we're getting started here with an amazing opening hand. I'm going to keep 7. And we'll get started. Looks like the opponent is playing a massive deck, so I'm curious to see what's in there. I love their little card arts. We have this one from Final Fantasy XIV, which is exciting. So we're going to pop down the Concealed Courtyard, head in strong with the Nezumi Link Breaker. Just going to force the opponent to get going pretty quick here. It's like they're playing a dual land with Surveil happening. Okay. It's alright, that's alright. So I'm going to play a Cave of Koilos, and then we're going to start moving even faster with Overlord of the Baelmerk. This is going to mill us a bunch of cards. We'll grab another Nezumi Link Breaker back, and go ahead and attack the opponent directly. Now, what's cool about impending with Overlord of the Baelmerk is before long he'll come back to the field, and we can use that same attack every time, or that same ability every time that we attack, which I absolutely adore. I'm going to play a lands for turn. Go ahead and pop a Caretaker's Talent on the field so we have more to block with. Go ahead and attack them directly since they're wide open. Alright, so the opponent plays a land, passes back to us. It looks like they've bricked a little bit. I'm going to play a Plains card down, and I'm going to go ahead and do Caretaker's Talent as well so that we can get more draw off of our creatures. I'm then going to come in with a Nezumi Link Breaker to help fill up the board. This is going to let us draw a card again, and we'll take our Enduring Innocence and our Mercenary token and attack them directly. Looks like the opponent is getting ready for something interesting here. They're going to play another mountain and play the Spitfire Lagak. So this says landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. That is a pretty fun lizard if you can get your lands moving fast enough. Alright, moving on to us. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and play the Rottenmouth Viper. I'm going to sacrifice every creature we own and pay the 1 mana as well. This is going to allow us to trigger a whole bunch of different effects, including some draw effects so that we can be set up for the next couple turns. Rottenmouth Viper is going to force the opponent to either take some damage or sacrifice or discard their cards, leading to a lot of early game disruption. We're going to play the Concealed Courtyard, which unfortunately ends up entering tapped. Then I'm going to play the Infestation Sage to get another body on the field. And last but not least, we'll do the Caretaker's Talent, popping an extra mercenary for whenever we need to attack with powerful creatures. Alright, so it looks like they're burning us a little bit with the Spitfire Lagok. They're going to pop down an Ankle Biter, which is a very handy low drop creature with Death Touch. Strongbox Raider as well is coming in. This is going to give them some acceleration, let them play some cards off the top of your deck that they exile. But unfortunately for the opponent, we are about exactly where we need to be. So I'm going to go ahead and play our Valkyrie's Call. This is going to allow us a lot of really cool loop abilities. I'm going to use both of my mercenaries to boost our Rottenmouth Viper, and then attack with the Infestation Sage and the Viper to hopefully get the opponent into a scary place. The opponent is realizing they'll have to sacrifice or discard a lot of what they've got stored up, and they send a Chocobo card that generates tokens to the graveyard. So the opponent blocks with the Ankle Biter for Death Touch. Unfortunately for them, they've wasted their Death Touch creature because our Rottenmouth Viper will re-enter the battlefield as an angel with a 1/1 token and force them to sacrifice again. Looks like the opponent opted to take the damage and is now going to have to figure out a comeback here. They're going to play Rulik Moms, the Warren Chief. This is a goofy goblin that unfortunately will not be enough to save them because they scoop, and that is the game. Alright, and as you can see, Sephiroth packs a powerful punch when he's backed up by low drop creatures and a hell of a lot of recursion. I had a lot of fun playing this deck, and you should give it a try as well as an alternate way to play Sephiroth. Thanks for watching, everybody. I've been your host, Skittleswitch, and we'll see you in the next one.